You guys, I recently went somewhere that's not Japan, Korea or Taiwan and it absolutely blew my mind. Istanbul, Turkey is uniquely located across two continents, Europe and Asia, and was the former capital of the Roman, Byzantine and Ottoman empires, making it one of the most historically rich cities in the world, a fact that is reflected in everything from the architecture to the food. In this video, I'm going to show you 26 plus things to see, eat, try and do. My goal is to give you plenty of itinerary ideas if you're planning your trip, and if you're not planning a trip to Turkey, well, it is my personal goal to convince you that you need to add Istanbul to your list of cities you must visit by the end of this video. My name's Steve, and without further ado, let's get into it, shall we? And if you're planning to visit Istanbul for the first time, I would recommend you stay in the Sultanamet area. That's going to put you within walking distance to many must-see attraction spots in Istanbul. And one thing I would recommend you do if you're staying in the area is to wake up early and explore it first thing in the morning. The neighborhood has a calm, almost timeless feel during this time before the crowds build up as the day progresses. You will mostly see people heading off to work. Lack of crowds aside, this is also when the historical sites are, in my humble opinion, at its most beautiful. I mean, come on, just look at this. And whilst most of the places are still closed at this particular time, there are still plenty of outdoor monuments that you can explore. And one of them is located right in the heart of Sultanamet. It's called the Hippodrome. It was initially built by the Romans and later expanded upon by the Byzantines. The area served as the capital for them, and there are a lot of surviving monuments to check out, all of which are standing exactly where they were thousands of years ago. Some of the must-sees here include the obelisk of the Theodosius, the serpent column and the German fountain. And one of the most unique things about Istanbul, Turkey that you're going to quickly realize is that it's one of the very few cities where you'll get to experience the history of the Roman, Byzantine and Ottoman empires all in the one spot and often at the same time. Depending on what time you start exploring the Sultanamet area, it may still be quite early by the time you're done exploring all the outdoor monuments. And so the next activity I would recommend you do would be to do a traditional Turkish breakfast at a rooftop restaurant with a view of the Blue Mosque and Hagia Sophia whilst waiting for them to open. Now the footage you're seeing here is from the rooftop dining area of the Hotel Henna where I stayed, but if your hotel doesn't come with a rooftop dining area, I recommend checking out Seven Hills Cafe and Restaurant. If you're wondering why, I think the pictures here pretty much speak for themselves. It truly is a quintessential activity whilst you're in Istanbul. After you've filled up with breakfast, it is now time to explore the Sultanamet area, and so in this next section, I'm going to cover some of the must-see attraction spots. Starting off with possibly the most iconic spot, the Blue Mosque, which is one of the largest mosques in Turkey and, in my opinion, the finest display of the Ottoman architecture there is. You guys, look at this. Crazy. It was built back in the 1600s, and don't forget to look up as the interior is lined with more than 20,000 hand-painted Iznik tiles that are in various shades of blue and green, and in my opinion is in its finest form in the daytime as the sunlight filters in through the stained glass windows. When I tell you it is a sight to behold, you best believe it. Just bear in mind that as it is still an active place of worship, appropriate attire needs to be observed, and if you're a female, I strongly recommend bringing a large scarf that you can use to cover your hair before entering. You'll need it at the other sites anyway. Other sites such as the Hagia Sophia Mosque, which is located just across from the Blue Mosque. This one was built back in 537 AD by the Byzantine Emperor Justinian, and did you know it was once the largest church on earth for nearly 1,000 years and also a symbol of the empire's power. This massive dome was once considered an engineering marvel of its time, floating above layers of marble, mosaics and intricate calligraphy. Now you might be wondering, you said church, Steve, but this is a mosque. Well, that's because it was converted into a mosque in 1453. And I know this is only location 2, but I was absolutely blown away by the blend of the Byzantine and Ottoman elements here. It is simply stunning. One thing about the Hagia Sophia though is that you will need to pay to enter. It will cost you 25 euros, but honestly just look at this. Is it not worth it? Though you can't say that you've been to Istanbul until you've been to a bazaar. And the one that you simply cannot miss is the Grand Bazaar that's been around since the 15th century. The buzzing marketplace contains well over 4,000 shops that spread across a labyrinth of covered streets, and you will find absolutely everything and anything here, from colorful lanterns, leather goods, jewelry, spices, and snacks of all kinds. The space is chaotic in the best possible way. Even though I didn't end up buying anything, it was incredibly fun to walk around. Though if you do actually want to buy something, don't forget to bargain. It's part of the culture. All of the places that I've checked out today so far have been on the old town side of Istanbul, and so it was time for something different. The Galata Bridge is one of Istanbul's most lively and picturesque landmarks, stretching across the Golden Horn and connects the historic old city with the vibrant Beyoğlu district. So it's sunset here at Istanbul, which means that it's the perfect time to be here at the Galata Bridge to soak out some of the local vibes. The bridge actually consists of two separate levels. The top bit, as you can see, is pedestrian, and also there's a lot of fishing activity that goes on here, and the bottom is a row of shops. And I personally do think it's quite a good way to immerse yourself in the local culture. It is no wonder that this is one of the best spots to check out Istanbul's sunset. Located right next to the Galata Bridge, by the way, is the, and I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation of this, is the Suleymaniye Mosque, one of Istanbul's most majestic architectural masterpiece. Built in the 16th century, this mosque combines graceful domes, soaring minarets, and guys, the inner architecture of this mosque is truly something to behold. Once the sun is set though, I recommend heading over to the Karakoy area. It is one of Istanbul's coolest and most fast-evolving neighborhoods. It was once the historic port district that's now packed with trendy cafes, stylish bakeries, boutique shops, and eye-catching street art that spilled through its narrow lanes. Despite being trendy, the area still boasts a historic charm with plenty of excellently restored Ottoman-era buildings. And by the way, while you're here, you absolutely must try a Balik Durum, which is quite easily my favorite Turkish street food ever. It is essentially a fish wrap usually made from freshly caught mackerel that's charred on the grill until it's smoky and tender, then rolled into a soft, slightly chewy wrap with lettuce, onion, and a squeeze of lemon before the entire wrap is grilled again. The result is this delicious warm wrap filled with flaky, slightly charred fish that is unbelievably flavorful. You can choose to have this while strolling along the waterfront, of course, or seated on small seats mingling with the locals, which is exactly what I did. I think this cost me 60 Turkish lira or around 2 Aussie dollars, and so it's also incredibly cheap and something that I would quite easily eat every single day. I am now on day 2 and it's currently 5:30 a.m. I'm out to meet some friends who live about a 15-minute walk away from my hotel to catch a cab to go see what I've been told is one of the most stunning sunrises in Istanbul. Hi. We're just gonna go catch a sunrise. Look at that! This is the Ortakoy Mosque, one of Istanbul's most photogenic landmarks. It is perched right on the edge of the Bosphorus, with the Bosphorus Bridge serving as a picturesque backdrop. Built back in the 19th century during the Ottoman Empire, it blends elegant Baroque-style architecture with classic Islamic design. Whilst I didn't go in to see it as it was still quite early in the morning, it opens at 9 a.m. I believe. The surrounding area of the Ortakoy is famous for their sunrise/sunset moments, and I mean, do I even need to explain why? This view looks like a freaking postcard. You will notice that I've been waking up quite early, and that's because one of the benefits of waking up this early is that you then get to enter most of the popular attraction spots early to minimize queues and crowds. And this next spot was right at the top of my itinerary when I was planning this trip. The Basilica Cistern was built back in the 6th century during the reign of Emperor Justinian I. It is a massive underground water reservoir that was designed to store and supply water to the Great Palace and surrounding areas. Whilst it is obviously no longer operational, walking through its dimly lit, vaulted chambers is certainly an experience. You'll be surrounded by over 336 marble columns rising from the water, continuously illuminated in different colors. Many also feature intricately carved capitals. The most famous one though are the Medusa heads at the base of the 2 columns. And whilst you're checking out the Medusa heads, make sure to turn around and see if you can spot the Medusa statue. Entry costs 40 euros, but it is certainly one of the most unique experiences that you shouldn't miss while in Istanbul. This next spot though will be a place that I'll remember for a long time. The Dolmabahce Palace is Istanbul's most lavish display of the Ottoman Empire's final era. It is the breathtaking blend of European opulence and Ottoman grandeur sitting right on the Bosphorus. It was built back in the mid-19th century and replaced the Topkapi Palace as the new royal residence, a fact that you can easily see because you guys, when I say this place is the textbook definition of opulence, you best believe it. Visitors are not allowed to take any photos or videos, and so out of respect for the venue I did not take any any, but I did find some Google images that I'm going to share with you here on the screen. Think huge crystal chandeliers, marble staircases with crystal railings, all the way to immaculately maintained gardens. When I say your jaw is going to drop, you best believe it. Just a note that the place does cost 50 euros to enter, so it's not cheap, but guys, it is so worth it. However, that's not to say that the formal royal residence is not worth checking out. After all, it served the Ottoman Empire sultans for nearly 4 centuries and is one of Istanbul's most important historical treasures. It is spread across a series of courtyards that overlook the Bosphorus. The palace is so huge it feels like a city within a city, filled with lavish pavilions, gilded chambers, serene gardens, and beautifully tiled halls. You can wander through the harem, explore the imperial treasury with dazzling jewels, and admire sacred relics preserved for centuries. The entrance ticket to this one, however, was by far the most expensive one I paid at 55 euros, but you will honestly be spending at least 2 to 3 hours in here to properly see everything, so in my opinion, worth it. After all, I'm not going to spend all those hours on the plane from Sydney to arrive in Istanbul and not see this. But it's not all historical sites either. I mean, have you been to the New York's Times Square? Well, Taksim Square is Istanbul's equivalent. It is a buzzing open plaza that feels like the city's unofficial meeting point. You will also find the Republic Monument here, and it's also the gateway to Istikal Street, one of the busiest pedestrian avenues in the world, that's surrounded by shops, cafes, restaurants, hotels, and cultural landmarks like the historic Red Tram. Don't forget to also drop by and see the stunning, and I'm gonna screw up the pronunciation, I'm pretty sure, so don't judge me, but the Cicek Pasaji, which I believe translates to Flower Passage, a historic Istanbul dining destination that's located along Istikal Avenue. This arcade was built back in the 19th century, and everything from the arch ceilings to the ornate ironwork is beautifully preserved. I mean, come on, just look at this. Is this not a vibe? And whilst you're in the Cagaloglu area, you have to check out the Galata Tower, one of Istanbul's most iconic landmarks that was built back in the 14th century. Its unique cylindrical structure and conical roof make it instantly recognizable, and you can also climb up the tower for unbeatable 360-degree panoramic views of Istanbul that includes the Hagia Sophia, Blue Mosque, Topkapi Palace, Bosphorus Strait, and the Golden Horn. Whilst you're there, don't forget to head down to the many cafes in the area for a cheesecake. Consider it a delicious side quest. As I mentioned earlier in the introduction, Istanbul is also uniquely perched between the Asian and European continents. But did you know that you can see both at the same time by going on a Bosphorus Cruise that takes you along the Bosphorus Strait separating the two continents? The ride usually takes about 1 to 1.5 hours, and whilst it is quite touristy, I as a tourist thoroughly enjoyed the picturesque views. I mean, come on, just look at this. Oh, and by the way, though Grand Bazaar is amazing, it is not the only bazaar in Istanbul. If you have time, you should also check out the Egyptian Bazaar / Spice Bazaar, which has been around since the 17th century. Much like the Grand Bazaar, it is a bustling labyrinth of stalls overflowing with everything from vibrant spices, dried fruits, nut teas, Turkish delight, and exotic sweets. Its rich history and sheer sensory overload from the stalls make it a must-visit spot for anyone looking to experience the flavors and culture of Istanbul in one spot. Additionally, if you're looking to get souvenirs, it is worthwhile comparing the prices that you'll get here versus the Grand Bazaar and also the Arasta Bazaar, which I'll cover later on in this video. Speaking of the Grand Bazaar, did you know that there's an entire world hidden in the upper levels of this market? You will find a whole labyrinth of hole-in-the-wall stalls hidden along narrow and steep staircases, and one of the best ways to see them is to do a rooftop tour that will take you through hidden courtyards and narrow alleys, hidden entrances, and some of these hole-in-the-wall shops. I was honestly surprised at how much I enjoyed this tour, which, by the way, as it is at the top level of the bazaar, will also offer you stunning views of Istanbul. I have to say though that I was especially keen to check out this next spot after 2 days of walking everywhere in Istanbul. But also, I mean, how can you come all the way to Istanbul and not do a hammam, aka a Turkish bath? A hammam is a centuries-old Turkish tradition and a quintessential part of Istanbul's culture. I picked this place as it was right around the corner from my hotel and has a 4.7 stars rating on Google from over 4,000 reviews. I wasn't allowed to film for obvious reasons, obvious being that I had to be naked for the entire experience. But you'll basically be led into a changing room where you'll change into into a robe, and the changing room is, by the way, lockable, so you can actually lock all your belongings in there as well. After you've changed into your robe, you'll be led into a steam room for about 20 to 30 minutes before you're then ushered onto a stone slab where you're going to be soaked, scrubbed, and massaged. This was honestly such a relaxing experience. Once the entire experience is done, you'll be served some Turkish delight and tea. Honestly, it is one of the most relaxing experiences I've had. And don't come at me again for butchering the pronunciation, but this place is called the Cagaloglu Hamam. Do check it out. Speaking about Turkish delight, I also realized that I haven't quite talked about my favorite topic, which is food, so I'm gonna do exactly that in this next section. Starting with Turkish delight, which, controversial opinion, I never used to like before going to Istanbul, but that's because the Turkish delight that I was used to looked like this, whereas the Turkish delight that I had in Istanbul looked like this in a huge variety of flavors. You can find these sweets at any bazaar, but if you do get a chance, I would recommend checking out the Hakkizade Hafiz Mustafa 1864 store. It is one of Istanbul's most beloved and historic sweet shops, famous for its decadent Turkish delights, baklava, and traditional Ottoman desserts. If it isn't already obvious, I was absolutely blown away by the selection of Turkish delights here, so much so that I actually bought some to bring home. This, I believe, was the pistachio one, and it cost me 354 Turkish lira. Speaking of sweets though, you have got to try a simit. There is no Istanbul street food more iconic than this. It comprises a sesame-crusted bread ring that's crispy on the outside and soft and chewy on the inside, often paired with fillings like cheese or Nutella. You will find them at carts that look like this all over the city, so be sure to try one. Stalls that look like this, by the way, will also sometimes sell chestnuts, which is another popular street snack I recommend trying. Breakfasts though are quite easily my favorite thing to do here in Istanbul, and you of course already know about the rooftop breakfast moments that you need to have, but your trip to Istanbul is not complete until you've had a proper Turkish breakfast. Specifically at Olden 1772. It is a restaurant that's housed inside a 250-year-old building that originally dates back to 1772, as the name suggests, that has been beautifully preserved. And guys, their Turkish breakfast is to die for. You will get fresh cheeses, olives, honeycomb, cream, jams, eggs, pastries, and fluffy warm breads, and more. Don't forget to pair all of that with some Turkish coffee or tea. The restaurant itself is, by the way, so beautiful in fact that I am determined to come back here one day for dinner. Also, everybody that you'll talk to will recommend you try Turkish coffee, and don't get me wrong, it is delicious. I've in fact had one every single day. But controversial opinion, I actually think Turkish tea is severely underrated and not talked about enough. Don't believe me? Just head to any bazaar and walk into a tea and sweet shop to try out the array of teas available. I was honestly so tempted to bring some back, but wasn't sure if it would pass the Australian customs. Does anyone know, by the way? If you do let me know in the comment section. Many of the videos that I watched prior to my trip also recommended I try out kebabs. So I did at several places, but the only one that I can recommend was one that I came across by accident after my hammam session. The place is very simple and unpretentious. The two reasons why I recommend it is one, the taste, controversial opinion. I'm actually not a huge kebab fan, but I actually found the food here to be quite delicious, and two is price point. The chicken shish kebab that I had here only cost me about 300 Turkish lira, which converts to around 10 Aussie dollars. Not bad for Istanbul. After dinner, I checked out the last bazaar on my list. Arasta Bazaar is a charming, lesser known marketplace that's hidden just behind the Blue Mosque. It offers a calmer and more curated shopping experience compared to the Grand Bazaar and the Spice Bazaar. Though it is much smaller, it will contain absolutely everything you can find at the larger bazaars, from carpets, ceramics, textiles, jewelry, artisan handicrafts to spices, Turkish delights, and more. Personally, this was my favorite bazaar out of all three, and so I do recommend you check it out. I do hope that you found value in today's video, and if you have, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. All the good things that you know are going to appease those holy YouTube algorithm gods, but much more importantly, will just make my day as a content creator. Also, if you're already visiting Istanbul, or this video has convinced you to visit Istanbul, you may wish to check out my video on the 15 rookie mistakes that every first-time visitor to Istanbul makes. I'm gonna link that video at the end of this video so that you can check that out next. By the way, I'm Steve from the Fat Life Project, and my channel is full of travel guides just like the one that you're watching right now that's gonna help you navigate your way through cities around the world. And so if traveling is your vibe, don't forget to subscribe so that we can go on more fat travel adventures together. Feel free to leave me a comment, especially if you have any questions or feedback, as I do love hearing from the people who take time to watch my videos. And if you got to this point, congratulations, 50 points to Gryffindor for you. I do hope that you have a fantastic day ahead, or that you've already had a good day. I'm gonna see you real soon in the next video. Ciao!